Welcome, one and all, to another Crypto Cove meeting. Greetings to everyone here. Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be in this world. And tonight we're actually going to be doing something a little bit different. Tonight we're going to be doing a Q&A session. So if you've been having a burning questions about pool funding regarding crypto itself, or even if it's about my tooling, or even a sort of curiosity you've had about me myself, here's your chance to have your questions answered. And we're going to go ahead and start with a question that was submitted to me for inclusion from someone who couldn't be here with us tonight. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and show you all that question. All right, so their question was, how can I be sure I'm on the list of paid training calls, and where do I look to see if I'm getting paid? Now, that's obviously a bit of a two-part question, so we'll go ahead and deal with the first part of that first. So we're over here in pool funding, and to check and make sure that you qualify for paid training, what you'll want to do is you'll want to mouse over to this tab that says Explore. On the mobile version, you'll see a line of three vertical lines near the top right of your browser window. We'll go ahead and click there. And this menu will look pretty much the same regardless of if you're using the desktop or laptop or you're using a mobile device. What you'll want to do is click here where it says train qualification. It's underneath exchange and above whale. And what you're looking for is 5 check marks here. I'm going to briefly go over what each and every one of them means. Now, verified means that you've been verified by a member of the executive team. What this entails is them getting on Zoom with you, asking you some questions, and taking your picture, as well as a couple other things. Now, it's a pretty straightforward process, so don't be too concerned. So, with that in mind, if you haven't been verified yet, you really, really should get on that as soon as possible. All right. And the second criteria here is trusted. Now, trusted is a manual switch that's a split for accounts that are otherwise qualified. This is just a last bit of a manual check to make sure everything looks right. And it's done again by Ace manually. So not that much else to say about that criteria. All right, completed profile. Now, what this looks like is we'll go ahead and go over to back to our account. And to get to your profile, you'll go ahead and click Edit My Profile. I'm not going to click on it in my case because that'll show some information that I don't want out there. But I do have a screenshot that I took earlier with the information censored that I don't want out there. All right, and we'll go ahead and maximize. All right, so here's what your completed account profile should look like. Of course, minus the censoring here. Username. Now, this is definitely going to be fixed in place. This is not something that you can delete, remove, or anything of the sort. Full name. We can see that there's my full name there. Email address. Again, this is censored in my case, but you're going to want to have your email address in here. Phone number. Now, for some of you, you'll want to use your regular phone number that you just use in your day-to-day, but for some of you, For some of you, you may want to use your WhatsApp number if they're two completely separate numbers. Here in Panama, they're one and the same since WhatsApp is pretty popular in most of Latin America and a lot of other places for that matter. The US is a bit of an exception to this, so of course you'll put your phone number in here. But if WhatsApp is more popular where you're from, then just mentally replace this with WhatsApp numbers since again that'll obviously be one and the same for you and odds are pretty good you use WhatsApp more often anyway. All right, so Telegram, you can see that I've censored most of this except for the very beginning symbol here. And let me go ahead and zoom in here. And I'd like a bit of audience participation here. Can any of you tell me what this symbol is?
At.
It's the at symbol. That's
Mm.
right. hmm And this is often the thing that's we find that's most an issue when people fill out their account information is that they don't have the at symbol here. How a standard Telegram username looks usually is the at symbol and your username. Like, for example, think of the username that you use on Telegram normally, what your name usually shows up as. And you have to add an at symbol to the beginning of that. And that's how this is done. We need your Telegram handle here because Telegram is how we usually reach out to people. And if you haven't created a Telegram handle yet, or if you don't know where to find it, what you'll want to do is you'll want to go into your profile settings. And it's a bit different per device, but if you see a username section that shows the at symbol and then your username, you can just copy that. Or if you haven't set up a username yet, it will allow you to create one. So after you've done that and double check that everything here is correct, what you'll want to do is you'll want to click Save Changes if you saved anything here, because just like it says, of course, that saves the changes you made. And then after that, you should have a completed profile. So let's go ahead and minimize this. And we'll go ahead and go back to our train qualification section. All right, and we have a completed profile, so we have a check mark there. That one looks good. The fourth criteria here is active in at least $1 pool. Now, this one's pretty self-explanatory. You do need to be active each and every day in pool funding, and you have to send at least $1 up to your sponsor each and every day through the pool funding system. Now, of course, the ideal situation is if you're active in all three pools, but so in order to qualify here, you do have to be active in at least the $1 pool. All right, and the last bit here is purchase the $100 PML promo. Now, this is something that's done through pool funding itself, not through Pancake Swap or anything else, because that's how we track the purchase. So let's go ahead and go to the promo page. Now, in my case, we can see that we have a transaction hash and a date and time in which I made that buy. This is a one-shot only deal. You can only do this once. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to get $200 worth of PML for a $100 purchase. And if you haven't done that yet, what you'll see is a form that has fixed values in it. You'll see an amount of USDT 100 that can't be changed. And then you'll see a quote as far as how much PML that 100 USDT is worth right at that point. And then you'll see a fields below there that's for a bonus. And what essentially that will do is that will allow you to double your purchase. And under that field, what you'll see is a button that will ask you to provide permission to the smart contract that's handling this double market buy. There's two steps to this, and there's two separate transactions that you have to confirm. The first one is a Spain cap request, and what that does is it basically gives approval to the smart contracts that's handling this system to spend USDT from your wallet because it needs permission from you before it does that. And after you've completed that transaction, you'll then see the button change color and it'll change from approved to buy now. You'll click the buy now button and then you'll see a MetaMask pop up and that will be the actual transaction to purchase the PML. And Ace has some videos on his YouTube channel regarding this process, so you don't have to focus on just my word of mouth here, since, again, I've already done this. And if you've already done this, this is pretty similar to what you'll see here. Again, this is a one-time only deal. All right, so we'll go back over to training qualification. And by the way, you can also get to this promotional page here by clicking the promo tab here. But we'll go back over to training qualification. And yep, there's last check mark. So we're good to go. Now, if you see an X in any one of these, that means that you have work to do somewhere. And what that entails, of course, all depends on which of these has the red X on it. All right, so that's the first question. So with that, I've went ahead and stopped the screen share. So that was just about it for the questions that I had submitted beforehand. Does anyone have any questions? Well, of course, first of all, about that process. No?
Yeah. Sorry, Hunter.
Alrighty.
Okay, so if somebody at one point is qualified in every aspect, but they have not been regular in making their payments, that will then turn that particular field to a non-qualifier?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what
Exactly.
do you know what the time frame would be? Is there a grace period?
So I do know that it's generally a bit of a while, but I don't know the exact time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, we have a question in the chat. Sir Hunter, my question, please. How can we stop the sellers, internal and external, completely from hurting the community?
You can't.
Well, physically speaking, we can't. Our tokens
Mm.
are available on the open markets, and we want this to be a free market system. Now, for users that are internal, which I guess by internal you mean folks that are a part of our platform, that's why we have the prohibition against selling, and that's why we have the account suspensions, and later on we'll have the tiered system. So that's how we try to prevent it on the internal side. Now, on the external side, again, there's really nothing we can do there if someone really wants to sell our coins. But the idea being, and this is going to be the case with our new tokens in particular, the idea being that our new tokens are going to start so high in terms of price that if anyone wants to be a ne'er-do-well or a bad actor, first of all, they have to plug down a big wedge of cash in order to even attempt to do that. And second of all, we're going to keep the liquidity in each of those pools for the new tokens relatively tight so that when someone decides to sell, they're definitely going to be kneecapped. In fact, let me go ahead and demonstrate sort of what that looks like with a bit of a visual aid. Right, so I'll go ahead and share my screen again, if it'll load. There we go. All right, so over here at the PFG charts, of course, it's honestly doesn't look very good, but right now the main thing we're concerned about is the price of the token right now. And we can see that one PFG is worth $18,122.51. And right now, the liquidity we're looking at is about $324.78. Now, how that breaks down is this particular liquidity contract has 162 USDT in it and 0.0089 PFG in it. So if we're just looking at the price here, well, one PFG is worth over $18,000. So if we're looking at that alone, logic should tell us that if we sell one whole PFG, we should be looking at over $18,000 here, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the case. And let me show you how that has to do with liquidity. Let's go ahead and go over to Pancake Swap. And let's go ahead and select PFG because we'll go ahead and click here and we'll select cake and we'll select USDT since that's a trading pair, PFG to USDT. And I don't have one PFG, of course, but if I did and I decide I want to sell it, we'll wait for PancakeSwap to give us a quote. And it gives us a quote of 161.167 USDT for the one PFG that we had proposed to sell. Now, that's obviously a far cry from the 18,000 or some odd dollars now, isn't it?
Yeah. For sure.
In fact, that's roughly about a 1/100x reduction based off of the kneecapping from the price impact. So let's take a look at what the price impact looks like in this particular case. So we see that we have a price impact of 98.36%. So that's what you're leaving on the table here. So yeah, that's again almost the entirety of your money, what you have, what you put into PFG, or in my example, in our new tokens. So we're going to have liquidity tight to the point where we will definitely have people seeing results like this to where they might be looking at really, really bad exchange quotes. So if anyone tries to do us wrong on our new tokens, then they're going to be losing a lot of money for trying to do so. So that answers that question.
Got it, sir. I understand.
All right. So does anyone have any questions? All right. For those of you just joining us, this can be questions about anything. This can be about spool funding. This can be about PML. This can be about my tooling, or if there's even something you've been curious about regarding me personally, here's your chance to get answers.
Hunter, I'll ask a quick question
Alrighty.
about the competition. Are we able to enter more than one video? Or is it
So
just down to
you can do multiple tries, but there's only going to be one that you should put as your final entry, so to speak, and that would be the main one that would be put in the running for the contest.
So how would you or how would we choose that if we had more than one?
So you could say do one as a dry one, or you could do multiple separate takes, and you could decide which one of those that you like best and select that one. Or you could also submit them all if you'd like and notate which one is your final entry. For that, you, of course, would probably want to notate that in the wall of joy because I don't think there's a section on the website itself where you can notate that.
Yeah, that, I mean, once we've entered one then on the website, how would you enter another one? You can just enter as many as you want, can you?
You can enter in as many as you'd like. If not through the website itself, we also still accept entries through Wall of Joy. But again, there's only treat one as your final entry, so to speak.
Okay. All right.
Can I add a
I'm not sure.
suggestion?
I'm
Go
not
ahead,
sure whether.
Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Scott. I just as a thought, you could do perhaps is put, if you're going to do two or three, put them into the Wall of Joy and ask people which they like the best, and then choose that one to put onto the website.
That'd be a
Yeah,
good idea.
I've already put one on the website though, so
Oh,
I'm not sure whether I'm going to do another one, but I just thought it would be worth asking the question.
sure. I
All
just
right,
want
we
to say
have
that,
go ahead.
yeah, that information, I mean, I joined a little bit late, but that information that you gave about the liquidity pool and how that works, and the noticing that you would be drawing down 98% or of the value and therefore wasting that 98%, as it were, you're not taking advantage of that. That's really great information. I just want to thank you for that. So that was that answered a few questions in my mind about how all that works. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. So if anyone, either internal or external, decides to do something of that nature, then that's going to mean a lot of pain for them. I don't know about you all, but losing 98% value on something I purchased really isn't my idea of a good time.
Absolutely.
Mm.
All right, we have another question in the chat. Having migrated from the old coin to the new coin, what happens to the present PF contributions that still goes to the old wallet? Is it going to be added to the already migrated coins at the end of the transition? If you're talking about the distribution that isn't showing up in your PF holdings, that's all getting shifted over into the new tokens as well. If you're talking about the amounts that have been distributed out, that have actually been distributed out to people, then that's actually caused quite a bit of confusion. And that's a question that I've had escalated to the programmer. But we really don't have much of an answer to that as of yet, actually. We don't know if I don't know if it was a mistake or something done intentionally, but we'll see what happens. I've escalated with the executive team and the programmer, so we'll see what they ultimately end up saying.
I think it's probably safe to assume that all of the data is retrievable and accessible. Maybe not to us, but certainly to the programmer.
Right, right. Yeah, the programmer definitely knows who people are, and they definitely have all this information.
Thank you.
All right, another question in the chat. Hi, Hunter. Would you know what will happen to the borrowers in PML? I'm I'm assuming you mean because, of course, no one has their legacy tokens anymore, so they can't do collateral for the loans or taking out loans. And the answer to that, there's actually two choices. The first one is that we're going to have the double dip line of credit system so that people can take out up to 4 loans each month through the credit system. And that's something that's been talked about off and on for the past while, going back a few months. So it'll be good to see that come online. Now, alternatively, will the old tokens, the legacy tokens, are still available on the open market. So if you'd like, you can also go purchase those through PancakeSwap and use those as your collateral. And we have many videos that go over how to purchase our tokens through PancakeSwap.
I've got a question again, Hunter.
Alrighty.
Okay, regarding to the PML Coin app site, how do we? I'd just like to see the process of how we could register someone if they're not actually a member of the pool funding website yet. If they just want to join the PML and they're not a member of the other one, how does it look? Because I haven't seen it done yet. Because obviously I was already a member.
So Pool Micro Lending and Pool Funding are sister websites, but one does not take data from the other, at least at this point. So for someone coming in who's completely new, hasn't joined Pool Funding yet, it looks exactly the same. Of course, we do have to get them set up with a wallet. That's relatively standard, of course, but again, it looks pretty much exactly the same.
Okay, we can't actually demonstrate that now.
Now, we can't actually demonstrate that because it's one account per person. And since they started the new AI detection, we, of course, really don't want to violate that now, do we?
Maybe as an admin thing or a programmer thing, that someone could do a video showing that process. Just just to see what the difference is, if there are any differences. Might be
I'd be
useful.
open if administration would want to allow that in my case, but we'll see what happens there.
Any admins on? Any executive assistants on board today on the meeting?
Nope, we don't have any of them here with us.
Okay.
Which is understandable. So Irene, the executive that's on duty right now, is probably pretty busy with a lot of different requests. So, yeah.
I have a question.
Alrighty. Go ahead, Paul.
So you mentioned that the existing tokens are still available on PancakeSwap. That's understandable, of course. So what that means, of course, is that when you go to PancakeSwap and you put in the USDT value that you're going to exchange, and then you go searching for PFI, let's say, for example, or PFS, whichever, then the original old tokens are going to appear so that you can make that transaction and purchase the old tokens. So it begs the question,
That's right.
what will the new tokens be called? Because they can't be called the same thing, of course. Or it's just to establish the fact that of course they will be called something slightly different. We don't have to know necessarily at this stage what they'll be called, but obviously they will have to be called something different, won't they?
Yep, they will be called something different, and they'll have entirely separate token contract addresses to differentiate them from the legacy tokens. Now, I don't know what the new tokens are going to be called. Whenever I've spoken about them, I've always used placeholders, being the next character in the Latin alphabet. So, like, for example, for PFG, or rather its replacement, I've always said PFC, and I've done that for all 4 of the tokens that are going to have new versions. But again, those are just placeholders. Those almost certainly aren't going to be the new names. And I do want not to put too fine a point on that, but if I did know, Ace would probably swear me to secrecy. So
Yeah, understood.
yeah,
But they could. I mean, I'm not saying they will be, but they could very simply be called new PFI or new. So like NPFI or
they could,
theoretically, yeah,
they could
theoretically. It's just
theoretically, they absolutely could.
yeah, yeah. It's just an indication that it only requires a slight adjustment potentially to rename them.
Alrighty. Okay, so I've had some questions submitted via Telegram. It's a bit late to do that, but I'll go ahead and take them anyway. All right, so the first one I see here is, oh wait, that's not a question for the main. That's someone asking a completely unrelated question about something I talked to them earlier about. What lied, folks? So I'll go ahead and handle that later. All right, so with that, do we have any or questions from the group here?
So I have another question.
All righty.
So just to be clear, in our holdings on the pool funding website, when we make our payments now, do the holdings increase and do they increase at the value of the new tokens?
They increase at the value of the new tokens because, again, we've shifted over to the new tokens. So that's what we're actually going to be getting ultimately for this bit of limbo period where we don't have the new tokens announced yet, but we've done the transition already. So, like, for example, I don't know if any of you all have noticed this as of yet, but let me go ahead and show you.
So I just want to make the point that the concept of them going into the wallet after the 90 days is no longer going to be the case, I presume. They're not actually going to make their way into our wallets. Do I understand that correctly?
Right.
Mm.
And we can see from where I am with the PFI holdings, I had quite a bit in here before the transition, but when the transition happens, the amount, of course, reset. And it's been, excuse me, it's been 12 days roughly since we did the transition. So it makes sense that there's 12 in here. Now, this is a bug here that occasionally happens where we still see an amount of PFI in here, but in a lot of cases, you'll see that zeroed out because we're not accumulating any of our old token anymore. It's all going into our new token. So with that in mind, we're really not concerned about how many PFI we're accumulating anymore because we've effectively made PFI irrelevant for most situations.
Okay, but that's they're not actually going to make their way into our wallets, these new tokens, are they, after 90 days?
So from what I understand right now, we're in a bit of a limbo period as to the new tokens because the 9 days countdown has not started yet, as far as I'm aware. It starts when the new tokens are launched. Everything
Oh,
is predicated on the new tokens being launched. The new countdown, the 300-day requirements for the token lockup period, etc., etc., etc.
okay. Thank you.
All right.
Sir Hunter.
Hello, Marjorie.
Yeah. When do you think can we start to buy the $1 requirements for everyday purchase? Does it take
That
a
will
few weeks?
that will happen when the new tokens are launched. And right now we're looking at an estimation of a few weeks, but that will depend on where we're look how we're looking insofar as PML goes at that point. So the estimation is right now it's a few weeks, but that's not set in stone.
Oh, all right, thanks.
All right, we've got two new questions in the chat. If the sellers cannot be completely stopped from buying the coins at will and they continue to hurt us more, what happens when the coins are finally released to us? Won't they still have access to buy? Yes, they will, and they will still have access to sell if they really want to, but that's why we're trying to create a culture in the community where we're allergic to the idea of selling our tokens, quite frankly, because our goal ultimately is to enter into partnerships with platforms like Aave to where we can extract value from our holdings of the tokens multiple times rather than just extracting value once by selling them. So it comes back to the analogy of not eating the seed coin, because that seed coin is what you can use to grow your rewards each and every harvest, for want of a better word. So that's that's how we're ultimately going to try to prevent sellers internally as much as possible, because you're going to get more value out of your tokens from using them as your seed coin than you will if you eat the seed coin by selling the tokens. So of course, you're definitely going to have quite a bit of value. Let's say that you have one PFG, or rather, its new token associated with it. So let's say you had one PFC, as I called it. Now, that would give you a value of $1 million. Now, that seems pretty decent. You could sell that and get some of it, as we've just seen before from that, you'll get kneecapped for a bit. But you could do that. Or you could go to a platform like Aave that will have partnerships with, and you can use that value to get a loan, which you can use to generate new profits with. You can use that money to do whatever you like with in terms of generate more money from that capital. You can use essentially you could use that 500,000 to make more money from that through any sort of venture that you might want to use. And of course, you would have to pay off the loan, but that will, of course, give you starting capital to do whatever you'd like with. So you could do that over and over again, not just once. Whereas if you sell the tokens, you're getting a bit of value from them just once, and that's it. And doing that also burns your bridge with this community, so you can't get any more from us ever. So multiple different iterations of profit and value over time versus a little bit of value right now. Which would you like? Red pill or blue pill?
Just need
And
patience. I'll be patient, sir. I'll wait.
you'll be next up. All right. And the other question we have in the chat, the new PF tokens we now accumulating are locked up in the smart contract too. During this limbo period we're having, yes, they will be. Alrighty, so Marjorie, you're up. Thank you for waiting.
No, thanks, sir. I'm done.
All right. All right, we have another question in the chat, and then after that one, you'll be up again, Paul. Hi, Hunter. What is the easier way to transfer Tether USD Ethereum to Tether USD BNB chain? The amount is USD 25. So how that would work is if you have some Ethereum already, you could use a swap tool like Simple Swap or Fixed Float to go ahead and swap that USDT that you have on the Ethereum chain to USDT on the Binance Smart Chain. But if you don't have any Ethereum, then you would want to use a service like Small Refuel to do a gasless swap of all the USDT that you have on the Ethereum chain to Ethereum. And then from there, you can go to one of the swap tools and swap that Ethereum over to USDT on the Binance Smart Chain. This can be a very expensive mistake to make. It costs about $10 to fix on a good day. So that's why we try to discourage people from doing that. And ultimately, the best way to solve the issue is to not have it in the first place. So in general, if you're purchasing USDT, the first thing you want to do is don't purchase USDT because most exchanges just do not support USDT that's on the Binance Smart Chain. So the USDT that you'll get from that is not the USDT that we use. Of course, there are some exceptions to this. Like, for example, if your exchange of choice is Binance, you'll, of course, have the option to use Binance Smart Chain with them. That they made it, they might as well support it, eh? Of course, another exception is if you're working with a trusted funding partner in our community, like, for example, Nancy. So again, that's just something to keep in mind. And ideally, you want to try and avoid making that mistake in the first place because that can be a fairly expensive mistake to remedy. Now, I know for some folks on this call, $10 might not seem like much, but for other people in this world, of course, $10 is a lot of money, is we've definitely seen throughout the community. Alrighty, so you're up, Paul.
Yeah, just on that point, and I was going to ask about something else, but just on that point, it's actually probably better to hang on to that Ethereum, maybe even add to it because Ethereum is going up in value anyway. So yeah, you'd probably be better off starting from scratch and buying $25 worth of the right tether and keeping the Ethereum. That way you wouldn't be losing so much and you'd possibly be gaining over time. So that would be what I would suggest personally. But going back to the question or the strategy that we're trying to put in place and the reason why the new tokens are being held back is so that we can get the value of the tokens, the new tokens, up to a level whereby people who want to sell, or rather those who have want to come in and buy and then sell, will, once the tokens are at a very high value, they won't be able to buy very much at all, which means that when they sell it, the impact will be minimal because it will be such a small amount compared to the overall value. So that's part of what ACE is doing, of course. So and in fact, in a sense, the PML, getting the PML up to the target is a dry run, isn't it? Of how we're going to manage
exactly
tokens. Yeah. So that's why we need to be focused on getting the PML tokens up to the levels that they need to be to demonstrate the fact that we can do it. That's what's because we're going to need to be able to do that with the new tokens as well, aren't we?
And to do that with PML, even with just the dry run like we're going to be doing it, of course, seeing our prices reach our next price target of 1.4 million and beyond, Of course, not only is that going to provide us with a good bit of flexibility for us to work with, and it'll provide us with the 3K maximum that we could take from that ultimately per month. But also, for us reaching that price, that's also going to be a hell of a morale boost now, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then theoretically, those of us who are on board with the correct way of doing things will be able to transfer the PML. We'll be able to cash out on that and use that money to buy the new tokens,
Right,
perhaps,
right.
and so help push up the value of those tokens. So yeah, but
Yeah, and there'll also be no reason for dissuading people from selling because in most places, $3,000 a month is a pretty good salary. So you'll have a good bit of your needs met. So again, there really won't be a need for you to sell your tokens unless you're just trying to be a, well, I won't say the name I'm thinking about.
yeah.
This is going on YouTube. So all right, so with that, like go ahead and shut the chat. There's no more questions there. And with that, does anyone else have any questions? And just to remind people that this can pretty much be about anything. This can be about pool funding. This can be about crypto as a whole, my utilities or my tools rather. Or if you've been curious about something regarding me personally, it's all pretty much fair game here.
Mm. Hi, Hunter.
Hello, Nola.
Sorry I was late this morning.
No problem.
Um, on a different note, just in regards to your great video you did the other day, which I watched the replay because I couldn't be on the Ethereum network and its history and everything.
The Ethereum basics.
Ethereum, sorry, yeah, the Ethereum network. I found that really good to listen to. I'd have to go back and listen to it again. I know personally I'm not very good on, just understanding things by audio. I was wondering whether it would be possible for you to do up a flow chart for us to show how all that actually linked together, because everything you spoke about would be really handy to properly understand. I, for one, would be happy to help pay for you time to do that.
I've actually never thought about it that way before, but I suppose it could very well help some people. I'll definitely take it into consideration.
All right. Thank you, Hunter.
All right, and Paul, you have your hand up again.
Yeah, it's about that. I'd love to see that video as well. So, you've got your own YouTube channel, presumably that you've put that on. Is that right?
I do.
Yeah. Do you mind putting that link in the chat so that we've got it?
All righty. All right, I put in the chat for everyone, and folks on YouTube, I'm sorry you can't see the chat, but hey, if you're watching this video, congratulations, you already here.
Got it. Thanks.
We've got another question in the chat. In Panama, how much is the typical rent of one bedroom or a studio type? Now, that can very much vary depending on which area of the country that you live, because, of course, there are more expensive areas and there are less expensive areas. Like, for example, if you want to live down in Panama City, that's going to cost quite a bit more. I recall seeing rents there for a studio apartment being around roughly 1,500 to 2K a month, and in some cases higher depending on the area of the district that you're in. So yeah, if you want to live in a big city, you can expect rent prices similarly to like you would see in the US for a big city, whereas for smaller areas and more rural areas, you'll definitely see it's a great deal less. Like, of course, we decide to buy rather than rent here. Now, that wasn't renting really wasn't on our radar, so we didn't really look at places for rent. But from the little bit that I did see, it was quite a great deal less than if you were living in a big city. And to give you a bit of context, here is essentially in the Highlands area. This is a rural area that doesn't really have a lot of population. Like, for example, I think the population of the town that I'm in is roughly around 3,000 or so, as per the last census they did. We'll visit Panama when we get rich and can afford to travel. Absolutely. It's a wonderful country. Panama is not part of the US. Well, that would probably depend on who you ask in office back in the US. That's all the political I'm going to get.
Yeah, the thing is, don't give Donald Trump ideas.
Yeah, I really shouldn't because we're still in the process of getting our permanent residency here. So if something happens there, then I'm screwed and a lot of other people are screwed. In fact, I'll probably have to edit this video to cut that part out.
You might have to consider relocating as well.
Any other questions in the chat? Doesn't look like it. All right, do we have any other questions from anyone else in the group?
So, Paul, question for Paul.
Go on.
Who owns the boat you were sailing the other day?
Oh, not me.
No, but so who then? Who's
Oh,
who's a friend that's got loads of money?
it's a friend who's actually he's a trained doctor or was. He's retired now, but he had his own bioengineering company, and he made hip joints and things like that.
All right. Mhm.
Impressive.
Yeah, yeah. He's had many boats. He had at one point he had one boat here. Yeah, I think he had two boats here in the UK, and he had one in Mallorca as well. Yeah, he's
Have you got him in pool funding yet?
no, he's averse to crypto. He has no idea what it's all about. Can't grasp the concept. Can't see the point of it. And he thinks he's doing quite nicely enough with the investments that he has, and I can't argue with that because he's got a few sailing boats and a nice home and everything else. So it's difficult to argue with that.
Mm.
True.
He's
I,
already
I mean, I'd,
set.
I mean, I'd say arrange an introduction between us, but I probably can't argue with that either.
Yeah, he's well set for life as it is, and yeah, he feels he doesn't need anything other than what he's got, so it's good enough.
He's not into the philanthropic side of things then.
Well, he in his own way he is, but not with finances to that degree, no.
Mhm.
All righty. Do we have any further questions?
Not from me.
Let me check
What are you
the.
having for
I'm
dinner today?
we actually had a new type of pasta that we got at the store. It's made from garbanzo beans, and we had that with a red sauce made with fine herbs, and we had that with ground beef.
Sounds
It
nice.
it actually turned out, how do I say this? It actually turned out not too bad.
That sounds like
Uh,
high
Not too
recommendation.
bad, not too good either.
Yeah,
my folks don't watch my channel, but just in case they ever do see this video,
it was delicious. We know, we know, we know. Thank you, Hunter.
alrighty,
That's been
absolutely,
very, very good. Thank you.
absolutely. All right, do we have any further questions?
I'd like to send you $10, which is nowhere near enough, but could you put your wallet address in the chat, please?
Appreciate that. I'll go ahead and put my wallet address in. And folks, just as a reminder, crypto code calls are not paid training because they are not officially sanctioned qualifying activities. So no one else put your wallet address in there. You'll just be wasting your time, basically. All right. Do we have any other questions from anyone?
That's it from me anyway.
All right. So I think that's just about everything. And
Oh, I can just ask Paul another thing.
What's that?
About choosing an AI company. Did you come to a decision in the end? Because you were looking at Lev AI and other AI applications.
Short answer is no. I'm still. There's one that I need to try. I've got it and I've paid for it, and I just need to spend the time
Oh, right.
using
Which
it.
one's that?
It's called Genius App, and it's what's good about it is that it has a walk-through training program. So it literally walks you through how to do things, and it's very comprehensive in what you can do with it. Um, I got it at a one-off price, but now it's it's gone to a monthly fee. So it's not cheap, but if it's effective and profitable, and produces better profit, then it pays for itself. There's also, there's an affiliate program attached to it, but it's primarily the AI functions that are obviously of most interest because that's what's going to create the capability of generating more income based on whatever we're doing, and especially pool funding, of course. Yeah, so no answer to that as yet. But I do plan to create the video for the competition using that software, and I need to do that probably tomorrow or the next day. Obviously, we're running out of time, actually. Yeah.
Did you check out Momentum Tech at all? I've seen
Uh,
them around a lot.
no, I haven't because I've already paid for this other one, so I need to try it out. And I think that this other one is actually so far advanced because it has lots of APIs in it attached to some of the best, like Grok, for example, and ChatGPT, of course. And what's the best? There's one of the best uh, avatar creators. I forget what that one's called, but the most famous one, the best, the most highly rated one. So it has all of that built into it. So that's why I think it's going to be hard to beat it, but I've yet to try it out.
Can you send me some info in Telegram about it?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not in a position to buy anything at the moment, but I'm just looking at different avenues for that kind of thing when I
Yeah,
do have some money.
sure.
Alrighty,
Okay,
so
so, sorry, Hunter, we're hijacking you.
no problem, no problem. This call is relatively freeform. I don't care. All right, so does anyone have any further questions?
I'm good, so I'm going to say good night to everybody. Thank you very much again, Hunter, and
You're right.
I'm good.
look forward to the next one.
Thank you,
So-
everyone. Thank you.
So with that, we'll go ahead and close out. Just a couple things before we do, though. I'm actually kind of glad that Paul brought up the matter of wallet addresses because oftentimes people ask if they can donate to me personally after the meetings that I put on. Now, I operate largely independently and truly enjoy sharing my knowledge with others. Please never feel pressure to donate, but if you so wish, donations are gratefully accepted. Hit the wallet address that I put into the chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the video description below. And your support absolutely helps. So with that, the other matter is for folks listening to this on YouTube. YouTube tells me that the majority of viewers that I get aren't subscribed. So if you found that you like the material I put out here, you like the meetings that we do, it would be great if you go ahead and subscribe to the channel because number one, of course, that will help keep you informed, but it would also help other Pool Flame members find my channel as well. And if you liked the video, you can go ahead and hit that button. If you disliked it, well, you can hit that button, I guess. But anyway, with that, thankfully my webcam is working for this meeting, so we can close out the meetings as per tradition. Does anyone think I'll get it right this time?
If I were to put
No.
money on it, I would be reserved in doing so.
Alrighty. 3, 2, 1. Pizza! Oh, come on. You it didn't even let me finish the spiel.
He knows you too well.
Yeah, unfortunately. All right, so I'll go ahead and start the recording. Thank you all for joining.